Hi, everyone. My name is Shelly Stoddard, and I am here tonight with Cassie Roachroff with Booz Allen Hamilton. We are so excited to be launching the Women in STEM program this season, along with this amazing hype session. So, Cassie is going to be leading the way and helping us learn all about how to hype ourselves up. So, thank you for being here and get ready to get hyped. Cassie, take it away.
Thank you, Shelly, very much. Welcome, First Chesapeake, to your Intro to Hype Sessions. This highly interactive workshop will have you feeling like your best self. So sometimes we don't give ourselves the best advice. We can be overly self critical or blind to some of our best assets. I hype talk is something we all can depend on at times, especially in the beginning of robot season and with our technical skills. I don't know about you all, but I get nervous when meeting new teammates or preparing for an interview. As social beings, our health depends on successful relationships and connections with others. What better way to start off on the right foot with these connections, whether it's a elevator pitch or that tell me more about yourself question, than with a little phrase of your own dose of your best self branding from a hype session. The purpose of a hype session is to create a community within and catalyze peer sponsorship. As your hype session facilitator, my hopes are to leave you with a sense of belonging, increased sense of self worth, and feelings of security in your own personal branding. Another form is called a traditional sponsorship, which includes a senior member of the team who sponsors a junior member of the team. But that usually requires a lot of leaders and it's not really sustainable. Hype sessions can not only cheer our peers up and leverage peer sponsorships, but also frame and realign skill sets for our robotics teams and our personal career goals. With that being said, who's ready to get hyped? Woo! So, how does one do a hype session? Well, we actually have not just one variant, but two variants. And the difference real here is time. A mini hype session is 30 minutes, and a full hour workshop is an hour. It's recommended to start with a mini hype session and then host a follow up with a workshop because you can expand on that mini hype session. But you don't have to you can come to one or both, either or. It's totally flexible for you. So, hype session is done in 4 steps. First, you're going to describe your brand. Number two, you're going to get paired up and go into something we're calling listening ears. Step three, we're all going to come back and for peer sponsorship. And last but certainly not least, one of my favorite things is reflection. Step number 4. So again, this isn't a workshop where you're coming up with your own brand. No. You're not doing your own homework. This workshop is interactive. It's different. You will be writing down your first step, of course, right? What do you want someone to know about you? So let's go, for example, the mini hype session. You're going to write down your one passion. Well, you're not writing your own hype. And step number 2, that's where your partner is actually going to write your own hype. You with me? All right, let's continue. So for describing your brand, we are going to, sorry, a little too quick there. For describing your brand, this is for a full hype session. But again, for a mini hype session, you're just going to do step number 2, which is to write your passion. You're going to take 5 minutes. Again, this is the first step of the hype session. You're going to take 5 minutes on your own to write down your first passion. And if you're doing a full workshop, you're going to do your first passion and 3 technical skills. Again, this is for your self-branding. And if you're doing a full workshop, I want you to think about this question. What does technical mean to you? It can mean a wide range of things, but what does it personally mean to you? So that's the first step. After the 5 minutes is over, we'll move on. Before we move on, I want to describe to y'all words we're going to try to avoid in these hype. Here's a list of them. we want to be descriptive. Now, of course, I'm telling you words to avoid, but you're probably thinking, Coach Cassie, what words can I use? I have something here called power verbs. Power verbs is what we're going to replace those words that we're going to avoid. Now, these are actually in categories. We have power verbs that describe people, data, things, and ideas. So I'm not going to go through all the words, but I just want you to see a couple of them. Here are some categories and some words for working with people. Here are some working with data. Here are some working with things. And finally, working with ideas. And again, use these power verbs whenever you can to practice, practice, practice. But for this case, we're going to do it in our hype speech. So I have an example for y'all. All right. So you did step number 1. You wrote down your passion. Now we're on to step number 2. And step number 2, we're gonna break out into breakout rooms. Now, again, you can have this in person or virtual or hybrid. I've done them all, and it works out perfectly. So you get paired up, and one person is going to be the listening ear, and the other person is going to be the speaker. So in this case, the speaker, her name is Morgan. Morgan writes down on step number 1 that her passion is being involved in women AI. Okay, she goes on her breakout room, and the listening ear, the other person, is going to listen to what her passion is. And so they're going to start off with writing their initial summary of Morgan's passion. And it's this: Morgan is a data scientist who is working towards becoming an important member of Women in AI. Currently, she is assisting the marketing and communications team. That's a pretty okay initial summary, right? But what if we take out some of those words and put them with some power verbs? And that is what this listening ear is going to do. They're going to pump it up. They're going to redefine it. They're going to ask some questions to Morgan. And they found out some really cool, interesting things about Morgan by doing so. Morgan is a data scientist, an essential member of Women in AI marketing and communications team. In 2022, Morgan introduced 3 new Women in AI events, providing career resources to over 100 members. That's a good hype, wouldn't you think? And afterwards, then you guys are going to switch. So then Morgan will become the listening ear, and the other person will become the speaker. I have another example for y'all. So that was just for a mini hype session. But if you want to do a full workshop, here's what something would look like. So Morgan has 3 technical skills. Morgan has assisting Women in AI sponsorship team, helps plans meeting for her project team, coding skills, and her passion is empowering women in our community. Now I want you to focus on, we tried highlighting some words here. So again, the listening ear is going to listen, and this is the initial summary from that. Morgan is passionate about empowering women in her community. She is assisting the Women in AI sponsorship team, helping plan meetings for her project team. She joined the firm a couple months ago and is already handling so much for the team's effort. And she has great coding skills and can set up metrics easily. Again, pretty decent. But you know what? I bet we can pump that up with some power verbs. Yeah. So take a look on the right. The listening ear is going to ask questions and rewrite the initial hype. And we have Morgan brings all of herself to her passion as a data scientist and an essential member of her project team, regularly coordinating client meetings. She joined the firm a few months ago and has already integrated so many members to her clients' efforts. She created metrics. And then for a fun fact, they added something that maybe Morgan didn't even realize. And that's the best part about asking these questions is sometimes we don't think what we do is cool, right? Sometimes we don't really think about, hey, actually, no, this actually ties into my passion until you hear it from someone else. So this usually takes about like 20 minutes, and you're going to switch between and about 10 minutes in between, right? And as a facilitator, I'll kindly remind you, hey, switch off. Because sometimes we get too carried away. And I'm telling you, that step number 2, it goes by very quickly. Step number 3. So after doing the listening ear and the speaker and you switch, I'm going to ask you to come on back to the group. Step number 3 is peer sponsorship in action. Here's where we are going to share with everyone. So your listening ear is going to share your hype. And during this time, I really want you guys to be supportive during people's speeches and compliment the speech and the skills people are offering. And this is actually, I think, one of the most rewarding parts of this whole hype session is having to hear someone else talk about you, right? Again, you're not just writing about yourself. Someone else is writing your own hype. And that to me sometimes actually I kind of get emotional a little bit. Before I became a hype session facilitator, I attended my own hype sessions, and this part really meant a lot to me to know how other people viewed me. After we go around the room and share each other's hypes, we go on to step number 4. Again, one of my other favorite steps. I feel like all my steps are favorites, but this is also one of my favorites. Self-reflection. Reflection is so important to our day-to-day lives. So we have 4 questions here for you guys at the very end. Number 1, when was the last time you reflected on your strengths? How did it feel writing your strengths and passion, right? Sometimes it's hard. Yeah, especially if you're doing a full workshop, thinking about something technical. Sometimes I get stumped after after the second one. But it feels good. It feels good to know oh, actually this is my strength. Something that, something day to day is actually something that's worthwhile. Question number 2. How did it feel to hype someone else? And vice versa. How did it feel to be hyped? Number 3. How did the list of strengths you listed at the very beginning of the workshop reconcile with what your partners shared about you? And one of my last questions that I really like is peer sponsorship can help connect you to new opportunities. Do the scenarios shared today align you with your career goals and team goals? Now, the best part about all of this is you can have hype sessions as many times as you want to, as many times in a year if you want, or bi-yearly, because your goals are going to change. Maybe your goals are going to change after that first competition. Maybe your team goals and personal goals will change after the season's over. Have a hype session. Discuss it. Your skills are forever changing, and so should your hype. So I have a list of instructions. So yes, of course, share it with your team, the hype, but also share it on the social media. Show it on the social platform. So here we have LinkedIn endorsing steps for yourselves. Share the hype. And last but not least, I'm going to show you guys my hype that someone wrote me. Hi, everyone. My name is Cassie, she, her pronouns. I'm a lifetime dancer and computer scientist. I leverage my inner cheerleader spirit to bring a new sparkling light to embedded computing. When I'm not behind my desk as a senior computer engineer for Booz Allen, you can find me volunteering as a robotics coach for FIRST and empowering women in STEM to accomplish gender equality in STEM. Thank you all so much for joining. I hope you guys are super hyped and ready to run your own hype circles, and that you'll feel confident for the next time someone asks you, tell me more about yourself.
That's
Thank you
awesome.
for Chesapeake.
Thank you, Cassie. That is awesome. So, hey, I have some questions for those who are tuned in. Can anybody be a part of a hype session? So, if my team is made
Yes.
up of a pretty diverse group, does it have to just be for ladies, or can it be for anyone?
It is for everyone.
Everyone can do it?
For everyone.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
And is there a place that we can go in order to get those power verbs so that we can use those if we want to do a hype circle back with our teams?
Absolutely, Shelly. So I do have these pulled out in materials, and I'm wondering if we can share those.
Absolutely. And then one other thing that I think would be very interesting, because I bet there's some folks tuning in out there who might want to do the 30-minute session led by someone who's done it before, like yourself. And I wonder in the future, is that a situation where we could do, like you talked about, a hybrid situation or just an online situation where we could do an RSVP event and those who signed up could do it and we could do it in the way that that this would be enough?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be more than happy to train people to be hype session facilitators.
That's awesome. Is there, have you ever seen, like, is there any sort of age limit on being someone who's facilitating, or anyone can do that?
That's a great question. Because I guess my answer is I don't see an age restriction.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah, as long as you're willing to facilitate. And again, when it comes to having a hype session, we want to make sure it's a safe space, right? So, maturity level of that would be good for to be a hype session facilitator.
That's awesome. So I think what we'll do then is, First Chesapeake, we're going to put those power verbs and handouts from the hype session tonight onto our Women in STEM page at the website. And we are going to bring Cassie back and do an RSVP example of this so that if you want to get hyped and do this with your peers across Chesapeake, not just your teams, we're going to make that an opportunity that you can partake in the future. And so this session was brought to you by Booz Allen in an attempt to let you know that there are ways for you to hype up your skills and talents and share who you are when you go in front of a judge, when you go out for a
Yeah.
job, when you're going out for those college applications, when you're going for a technical, unplanned situation where you're being asked to talk about yourself. That's what this is for. And the Women in STEM initiative at First Chesapeake it's really important to us that we are teaching the young people in our community not just how to hype themselves, but to Cassie's point, to hype each other. And so I just want to thank Cassie so much for coming out this evening. It is Women in STEM scholarships are open at First Chesapeake, so get out there and fill out your application. In addition to that, we've just had the International Women in Robotics Day,
Whoop,
and
whoop.
so our session is hyped over there on their website, and so we are here to impact the women in our community. And so we just want to thank you. It looks like there's a couple key takeaways you want to highlight before we wrap up this evening.
Yep, absolutely, Shelly. You actually just reminded me about some of these key takeaways as you were just talking right now. So, yes, I just want to reiterate what Shelly just said about these hype sessions. Some key takeaways: practice, right? Practice introducing yourself and others with these hype words. Practice your sponsorship. Show appreciation to your teammates, right? This is exactly what Shelly was talking about. And also just look out for the opportunities that may align with your team goals.
That's great. So if anyone listening has any questions, now would be the time to throw those into the comments for us. We're happy to answer those if you have any. The video will be made available online. The handouts with the power verbs will be available online. And then ultimately, like I said, we're going to be bringing Cassie back for an RSVP event for those of you who want to do a hype session with her in order to find a new way to talk about yourself and to help others talk about themselves. So we'll give it just a moment in case there's any questions. While we wait, Cassie.
Hi, Shelly.
When you did the hype session for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
was there something that surprised you when you were done with the experience?
Yeah, the whole experience actually was so surprising to me because I didn't know how I would feel being hyped by someone else. Just again, the way that someone viewed my technical skills I do every day that seemed mundane or typical to me, and someone else is like, no, this is really cool. This is really interesting. And they also, what was surprising to me was for me, my background, right? Some people may know me, some people may not, but I'm a dancer and a computer scientist. I'm a proud second generation of female engineers in my family. Hi, mom. um, and you know, I didn't realize how much of who I am I bring to engineering and computer science until I did a hype session. So that was something um, that was brought to my attention. And now that I use every day, like I use it in my hype session all the time, or my own hype, because someone said that about me. I'm like, oh wow, this actually does make sense. I actually maybe I do this, and I don't even mean to.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you. So I don't have any questions coming in. So I just want to thank those of you who did come tonight. And again, this will all be available on our website. And Cassie, thank you so much. I think that this idea of using language in order to hype ourselves and others, in order to promote the talents and skills we have in a way that is more positive, in order to know ourselves better and
Yes.
understand what we have to contribute, is just incredibly powerful and empowering. So thank you for spending time with us this evening in honor of Women in STEM. And we're excited for the next step. So thank you.
Thank you, Shelly, so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thanks.